Wackersdorf in southeast Germany is home to one of the best kart circuits in Europe. Situated 40 kilometres north of Regensburg, Pro Kart Raceland is fast, 1,275 metres long, and venue for round 2 of the 2011 Rotax Max Euro Challenge. Following a series of qualifying heats, 34 karts line up for the DD2 class pre-final. On pole, kart 655, Austria's Sandro Lukovic, driving for Team Sportstill. Starting second, Finland's Mika Laiho, the current championship leader. And the karts accelerate over the line, but straight away some drivers hold their arms in the air to signal a full start. Hopefully then it'll be second time lucky. To the left of your picture is the red kart, the poleman Sandro Lukovic. But it's a lightning start for the green and white Tony kart of Mika Laiho, who charges through into the lead, slotting into third place just behind them. It's the 618 kart of Denmark's Thomas Smith, and holding on to fourth where he started is Jules Simkowiak. There's number 621, Sasha Pio Haider, one of 4 German drivers competing in this race, but it's still a Finnish driver that leads, Mika Laiho, after that very determined and successful run into turn 1. Sandro Lukovic is on his tail in second. Meanwhile, here's a challenge for third, and that's Simkowiak diving down the inside of Smith, and he takes Lucas Orok with him. So the 618 kart of Thomas Smith is demoted from third to fifth. On the tail of this lead group is French Sodi karts driver Antoine Lepesque, and just inside the top 6 is the 608 kart of Zenderu, the Belgian driver who won the pre-final at Genk. We're only at the end of lap 1, a quick lap here. It takes less than 50 seconds for the quicker drivers to negotiate the 1.2 kilometres. Now look at Lukovic, right on the tail of Laiho. A gap appears and he goes for it, back into the lead for the Austrian. He then points forward, follow me, he's saying, and will pull away from the pack. They've certainly begun to edge clear. Simkowiak is about half a second back in third place. And for the time being at least, Laiho is doing as he's told, almost attaching himself to the rear bumper of the new race leader. After the opening round of the championship in Genk, Laiho is leading the standings on 87 points, 6 points clear of Belgium's Matthias de Tige, who could only manage to qualify 6th on the grid for this pre-final. The race leader, Sandro Lukovic, didn't enter the first round, so he's perhaps more concerned with what happens today than in thinking about the championship as a whole. Coming up to the end of lap 2 then, and looking at the gap back to Simkowiak in third, I'd say that the Belgium is staying with the 2 leaders and just beginning to edge away from Matthias de Tige in 4th. Thomas Smith remains 5th, and then the gap back to Antoine Lepesque in 6th is growing. There's Jules Simkowiak in 4th place, running in the Zanardi kart. He's driving for G-Star Raw Racing. The British driver Lucas Orok in the white suit is 5th, then it's Thomas Smith, the man currently 5th in the championship. And just look at the speed they carry as they whip out onto the straight. Phenomenal amount of grip on these high-performance race karts. All running on slick tyres, and with a low centre of gravity, they're simply breathtaking through the corners. Now, here comes Mika Laiho down the inside to regain the lead. And look, suddenly Jules Simkowiak is hot on their heels. He finished second to Zenderu in the pre-final at Genk before the pair then crashed into each other during the final. First, second and third nose to tail, and Lukovic is already looking anxious to get back into the lead. He looks to the outside, but there's no way through there. Now, here's an opportunity at the hairpin. Lukovic is through. Simkowiak bounces all over the curbs to try and get by as well, and there's contact as he runs into the side of Laiho. Here's the replay. Simkowiak clatters the curb, actually ran into the back of Lukovic, and then understeers into the side of Laiho. They're both delayed, and that allows Orok and Smith to get by on the exit to the turn. It's all changed then. Lukovic leads from Orok and Smith. Simkowiak is 4th. Matthias de Tige is 5th, and ex-race leader Laiho is bumped back to 6th place. And that is a perfect illustration of just how competitive karting is. You can very quickly lose a handful of places. Right, one to watch here might be the man in 5th, Belgium's Matthias de Tige, in the green and white race suit with the yellow helmet. He's the current championship leader. And just ahead of him, there's contact as Simkowiak runs into the back of Smith. That slows him out of the corner, and with uninterrupted acceleration, de Tige is simply able to drive straight past him. The Belgian now up to 4th. And that will now put Mika Laiho back onto the tail of Simkowiak. Remember, Simkowiak ran into the side of Laiho on the previous lap, which is why they're down in 5th and 6th in the first place. There they both are. To be fair to Simkowiak, it was a legitimate move to try and get ahead of Laiho, but he misjudged it, hit that inside curb, and the rest is history. They remain nose to tail. In fact, there's only a couple of seconds covering the entire top 6. Behind the lead group, the 604 kart of Britain's Patrick Pearce. He's now up to 7th as Matthias de Tige goes 3rd with a good move to overtake Thomas Smith. So de Tige, currently 2nd in the championship, passes Thomas Smith. De Tige very definitely the man on the move at this stage of the race, and he's not all that far behind the top 2. Speaking of which, look at Lukas Orok. He's now right on the tail of the race leader, and he's got an excellent run onto the start-finish straight. He's carrying more speed. He pulls out of the slipstream and charges inside Sandro Lukovic to take the lead. Lukovic has run wide, and he's going to lose another place, as through now comes Matthias de Tiege. Thomas Smith having a go too, but Lukovic is back online and just about fends off the Danish driver. Lukovic is still going to be under pressure into the left-hand hairpin. Smith is swarming all over the back of him on the way out of the corner too. Fantastic action here at Wackersdorf for round 2 of the Rotax Euro Challenge. We've not even reached the final yet. Championship points are available for this pre-final, but the majority of points will be at stake in the final. And the order's about to change again. Smith finally gets through. He almost takes Mika Laiho with him too. But now Lukovic is fighting straight back, and the Austrian dives back up the inside to regain third place. We've now got 8 karts all in a line, all fighting over third place. And that fight between Lukovic and Smith has allowed the top 2, Lukas Orok and Matthias de Tiege, to get away, at least for the time being. But there's more to come. This time it's Mika Laiho making a move on Thomas Smith. It's breathless, frenetic stuff out there. And now Thomas Smith slides wide at the hairpin. He's lost a couple more places. Having got himself up to 3rd less than a lap ago, he now finds himself down in 7th place. He's not out of it yet though. Mika Laiho slipped from 1st to 6th a couple of laps ago, but now he's beginning to work his way back up the order, so a recovery is possible, and we're only halfway into this 14-lap race. I reckon I caught a glimpse of Laiho going for 3rd place there, but here are the leaders running shoulder to shoulder. De Tiege has got the inside line, and he goes through, but he runs wide on the exit, and they make their way back onto the start straight. Lukas Orok gets the place back, and yes, in the background, it is indeed Mika Laiho who's got himself back into 3rd place, with Sandro Lukovic now 4th. Right, I make that 5 different leaders we've now had in this race, and there have been plenty of fireworks further back too. They head into the hairpin, and look, that's Matthias de Tiege going for the lead again. He runs a little wide, but this time he's able to prevent Lukas Orok retaking him on the exit. A quick update then before it all kicks off again. Matthias de Tiege leads for Bouvon Power. Lukas Orok is 2nd for Paul Car Racing. 3rd is Mika Laiho for MPT Racing, and 4th is Sandro Lukovic for Sportstill. The winner of this race will score 34 championship points. Another good move there from Lukas Orok to snatch the lead back from Matthias de Tiege. Orok had a decent drive in the final at Genk, coming from the back of the grid up to 15th place, so we know he can overtake. This quartet of drivers are out on their own for now, 1.6 seconds clear of the second group of karts, which is being led by Jules Simkowiak. But if they keep fighting each other like this, it won't be long before they're all caught again. Bang, bang, bang! De Tiege, Laiho and Lukovic all gang up on Orok, and now he's back to 4th. That was a case of follow my leader, with Orok the man who is hung out to dry. Well, there have been so many changes in this race, it's almost impossible to keep track of everything that's gone on. But they do say the cream always rises to the top, and guess what? The top 2 in the championship, and now the top 2 in the race. But a word of warning, they're no longer at the head of a 4-way scrap. We've now got 7 of them all running together, because Simkowiak, Pearce and Smith are almost back in touch with that lead group. You're looking at Simkowiak and Pearce in 5th and 6th. Pearce in the red, white and blue suit, currently 6th in the championship. And he's worked his way up from 10th on the grid here. Just ahead of them, Lukas Orok glances over his shoulder, sensing that he's about to get some company. Here are the leaders, De Tiege and Laiho. They hurtle towards the next hairpin, and this time it's Laiho who makes the move. Ironically, this is the corner where the Finn tumbled down the order when he led earlier in the race. And what's this? Another corner, another change, this time with De Tiege and Lukovic both darting past Laiho. And then there's even more contact. Laiho pushed wide onto the grass. Would you believe it? Once again, he's brutally bumped down the order from 1st to 6th. Here's the replay, a clash of wheels, Laiho onto the grass, and it's got to start all over again. And now kart 608, Zendaru comes past to pick up a place for Formula K Europe. So De Tiege leads, Lukovic is 2nd, and this is now the battle for 3rd. Jules Simkowiak just ahead of Patrick Pearce. And right behind the pair of them in the red, white and blue suit is Thomas Smith. And Simkowiak in the dark suit getting tremendous drive out of the hairpin to open up a gap to Pearce. Now it's into the final turn of the lap, this fast, sweeping right-hander. The kart's already carrying plenty of speed as they turn back onto the start-finish straight. Here comes Thomas Smith, wheel-to-wheel with Pearce, but he can't quite find a way through. Behind them is 623, Lukas Orok. And here's a move from Mika Laiho. He dives inside Zendaru. Bit scrappy on the exit, but he just about keeps it together. A determined move that by the Finn, who is possibly a bit wound up now after a bruising race so far. And as you can see here, the midfield battle every bit as competitive as what's going on ahead. is the battle for 4th place. Smith still behind Pearce, the British driver having done a good job to move up from 10th on the grid. The man that's chasing him, Thomas Smith, has been up and down the order a fair bit. Not quite to the extent that Mika Laiho has, but nevertheless, the Dane remains in contention. Now this time, Pearce is the man who gets a really good run out of the hairpin. That gives him just a little breathing space, while ahead of him, Simkoviak has now caught the red-suited Sandro Lukovic in the battle for 2nd. We're heading into the final stages of this race, just 3 laps to go in this 14-lap pre-final, and perhaps for the first time, things beginning to look a little more settled. And it's been a terrific race so far, but never fear, this is more likely than not just the calm before the storm. Certainly there's not much of a gap between 2nd and 3rd, just about a 1/10 of a second, as Simkoviak in the 603 kart weighs up his opponent. And in fact, if they work together, there might still be enough time to have one more go at catching the leader. Oh, all right, then scrap that plan. Simkoviak is impatient and gets himself up to 2nd place. Through the last corner they come, and now Sandro Lukovic might be in a position to benefit from a tow. In karting, you don't get the slipstream effect to the same extent as in a car race, but there is definitely some benefit to being tucked up behind another kart, as they punch a nice big hole in the air for you. Less than 2 laps to go then, and we've got Belgian drivers 1st and 2nd. Matthias de Tees more than a second clear of Jules Simkoviak. 3rd is the 655 kart of Austria's Sandro Lukovic, and just beginning to catch them now. In 4th is Britain's Patrick Pearce. There's a bit of a gap back to another British driver, Lucas Oruck, in 5th place, with Denmark's Thomas Smith 6th. And then former race leader, and let's not forget the current championship leader, Mika Laiho, he's down in 7th place. Onto the last lap then goes de Tees, the race leader looking comfortable now, but it's getting ever closer in the battle for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. This is the fight for 5th between Oruck and Smith. Oruck having to go a little bit defensive on the way into the hairpin. They've also got Mika Laiho with the orange helmet and Zenderu catching up to them. So there's a queue beginning to form behind Lucas Oruck. There's a fine balance here for the man at the head of the group. Get too wide into a corner, leave too much of a gap between your wheels and the inside curve, and you can guarantee the driver behind will try and squeeze into that gap. So you've got to try and hold the inside line, but equally, if your angle of approach is too tight, you won't flow out of the corner, it'll kill your exit speed and you lose the place anyway. So as much as you can, try and drive your normal race, but always mindful of braking late enough into the corners and not leaving the door open. But it looks like Laiho is about to lose a place. Sure enough, Zenderu moves into 7th to cap off a frustrating race for the championship leader. Meanwhile, his main title rival wins as Matthias de Tees takes the flag, Simkoviak crosses the line in 2nd, and Lukovic is 3rd. Dennis Kroes is the Masters class winner.